In this last segment, we'll look at the contested City Council seat in the 4th Ward. The 1st Ward is also contested, but unfortunately the candidate, Mr. Ozog, had a prior commitment. Welcome Hatim Elhady, 4th Ward candidate for City Council. Let's get right into some issues. Your opponent has been in office for approximately a decade. What votes or positions or actions has your opponent taken with which you disagree?
First and foremost, thank you for having me. It's a
pleasure
being here, Nancy. One of the biggest issues I think has to be the community involvement between the council member and the residents of the 4th Ward. So it's more of a transparency issue there. I think that's one issue that the council member has not taken up over the past 10 years. By saying that, I mean I would go out and try to establish weekly office hours, try to get Fourth Ward residents involved in the issues, and establish a monthly newsletter. Of course, given the demise of the Ann Arbor News, it's really difficult for many 4th Ward residents to be involved in residents from other wards. Also, another issue that I oppose and that the incumbent has not, or that the incumbent supports, is the city income tax. I oppose the city income tax. Number one, it's bad for renters. About half of the 47,000 residences in the city of Ann Arbor are rental properties. It is very unlikely that the landlord will pass down the property tax savings from an income tax to the renters. So in essence, you have the renters paying an income tax but not realizing the benefits that the homeowners and the landlords will receive. Also, I try to stress the issue that the fiscal issue that we have is not an issue of more revenue. That's not the answer. The answer is fiscal responsibility prioritization, more efficiency with allocating dollars.
Let me stop you just for a second, and that be very clear, because Monday night's meeting at council, the incumbent, your opponent in 4th Ward, had a resolution come forward that council members were unaware of coming forward. It came forward late. It was not well written. Council members didn't have a chance to read it, some council members, and there was also no public process. So what is your view on this entering proposals at a very late date so that the residents and even your fellow council members don't know about it?
For those viewers who do not know what you're speaking of, it is the Argo Pond.
Yes.
And that goes back to one of the issues that I just stated, community involvement, public input, getting the public involved with the resolutions that are passed, or the resolutions that are taken to City Council. I am for the Argo Dam. I'm dam in. But of course, we have to understand that the public input, that the process with getting the public involved is something that cannot be skipped, regardless how you feel about an issue. It is a prime part of the process with a resolution, especially such as the Argo Dam, a big one such as that we get the public involved. The city of Ann Arbor has many wonderful residents that have good academic statuses. I feel that skipping their input is actually a bad thing. We should look at the residents of Ann Arbor as an asset. So when the incumbent and other members of council who sponsored that resolution chose to skip the public hearing, that was actually a bad idea, a bad part, I think, all around.
Okay. Hatim, one of your degrees is in economics. I checked on some of the skill sets associated with your field of study. They include logical thought, use solving problems, understanding of secondary effects and unintentional consequences, as well as understanding the impact government policies have on the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So you've already brought up the idea of being against the city tax, but our administrator has made major cuts in the city, in the police force, which we all know, and is planning, I think, to have cuts in the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering what you think about these cuts. Are these cuts the way to go? What do you think about in dealing with our fiscal problems, or so-called fiscal problems?
Okay, thank you, Nancy. I will be graduating this December with my degree in economics. And yes, it does involve rational thinking and a logical thought process. And I wanted to get into the income tax, but unfortunately I was taking too much time with that answer.
Oh.
But here's one of the reasons why I believe an income tax is not the answer, or one of the final reasons I was getting to, is that we should look at necessities over luxuries when we're deciding to allocate our dollars. Let me give you a prime example. A police courts building, an underground structure. Those are luxuries. Over what are necessities? Necessities is the stadium bridge, our roads. When you have a bridge in the brink of collapse, 2 out of 100, I mean, that should even be more of a necessity for a city. That's not only involving an economic issue, that's a life issue. So I think weighing those two options, whether to fund a necessity over a luxury, is something an economist will have. An economist will look at what will benefit the public more, what would benefit the public most, okay? Also, looking at the pros and cons, okay? Will this be the best way to go, or would it be the worst way to go? When considering to even fund a necessity such as a stadium bridge, we want to look at the best case scenario and worst case scenario, okay? If I were a city council member and I were voting on a resolution to fund the police courts building, I would say, okay, this involves millions and millions of dollars. Okay, now we have a stadium bridge here that's falling, and how will this affect us in the future? Can this money be used more efficiently? And that's number one, it can. So now the city is sort of making up for its screw-ups, basically, with cutting the police force and looking to cut the fire department. I think that's an issue that they have right now. So they're making up for that, and that's one thing I will take as an economist. You have to look towards the future when making these decisions.
Okay, so it sounds like you are against a city tax, even
Clearly.
though it has been said that having the commuters bring money to the community would be helpful. Are you saying that the benefits are outweighed by the negatives? Is that
the commuters? The people who live outside of the city of Ann Arbor are actually many of those who cannot afford to live in the city of Ann Arbor, people who work at the University of Michigan. I think they are already struggling. We're going to put a bigger burden, or more of a burden, on those commuters. Again, yes, that is one thing to consider. Also that like I said, half of the 47,000 rental properties are residences are rental properties, and the renters will not realize this gain. The negatives for the income tax by far outweigh the positives for an income tax. I think that's one thing they should have considered way back when. Of course, now we find ourselves in this position of wanting to implement an income tax and more revenue. And although it's already done, we're funding a police courts building. What I try to stress in my campaign that we need to look towards preventative measures. Will this happen again? And how can you guarantee this from not happening again? Well, you could guarantee it by having me on city council. I would not make a decision like that.